Party people of the interwebs, it's December 31st, 2023, the last day of the year. I'm old enough to remember 1999, and there was this thing called Y2K that was going to take the world down because someone forgot to program a zero into computers and nukes were going to go off, grids were going to go down. It was going to be the end of humanity as we knew it. Nearly a quarter of a century later, we survived that, but we might be closer to the brink than we've ever been before. But alas, I'll save the optimism and the pessimism and the forecast and the well wishes for the end of this vlog. We're going to end the year with something of a bit of a laugh. Earlier today, as I'm sitting around the house like a whiny little baby complaining about how I feel, I'm wearing a turtleneck, and I put out on Twitter a riddle. Why do lawyers wear turtlenecks? Kind of surprised that more people didn't know the punchline to this joke. Why do lawyers wear turtlenecks? To keep the foreskin in. Because lawyers are dicks. And it's a well-deserved reputation. I mean, they say 95% of lawyers give the other 5% a bad name. Lawyers are dicks. And we're going to end 2023 with a bit of a laugh, highlighting the shameless hypocrisy, double standards, and lawlessness of the same left that calls the right far-right extremists, etc., etc. In order to fully appreciate this story, you need to understand the players in this story. It involves one Paul Champ. If the name sounds familiar, it's because you might have seen him as a lawyer during the VLAWG Commission investigating Justin Trudeau's invocation of the Emergencies Act. He was a lawyer representing Zexi Li. Zexi Li, Z-E-X-I-L-I, is the proposed plaintiff in the $300 million class action lawsuit that she has brought against participants, organizers in the Ottawa protest, trucker protests in Ottawa.
The woman who got an injunction against the so-called Freedom Convoy that occupied Ottawa is set to testify today at the trial for two of the protest organizers. Zexi Li is expected to take the stand in the criminal trial for Tamara Leach and Chris Barber. She's also the lead plaintiff in a proposed class action lawsuit against convoy organizers.
$300 million she is seeking in this proposed class action. Paul Champ is her lawyer in that lawsuit seeking to obtain damages for people's exercise of their First Amendment rights to protest, etc. The other player in this story, Joel Harden, whom you might know because we spent the better part of a week over the summer trying to get justice for Joel. Joel Harden is a sitting member of provincial parliament for the NDP, who was purportedly, by his own statement, the victim of a hate crime at a protest over the summer where he allegedly claimed to have been punched in the face protecting trans kids at a protest. I'll take a punch for a trans kid any day of the week, said he on Twitter. And I'm like, we're going to get justice for Joel. Someone punches Joel Harden in the face. We're going to find out who it is. Hashtag justice for Joel. Punchline, the idiot bumped himself in the face with his own bullhorn. It was a lie. He got called out for it. He got publicly mocked for it. And then he blocked me on Twitter for it. These are the players in this story. Turns out that Joel Harden, the habitual protester, was fined yesterday or the day before for using a bullhorn at a protest protesting Israel's invasion war in Gaza in response to the horrific October 7 terrorist attacks. Joel Harden was protesting. His dismay with Israel's response was using a bullhorn, apparently for too long, for too loud, and was fined or issued a ticket for using a bullhorn at a protest. Paul Champ, the defender of First Amendment rights, comes out with a tweet and says, "This is atrocious. How could Joel Harden be fined for a protest? I mean, it was just a bullhorn for a few hours." At Paul Champ Law, this is an affront to our deepest and most important democratic values, the rights to freedom of expression and freedom of assembly. A ticket for using a megaphone for a couple of hours on a public street to protest against a horrific war? Unacceptable. He comes out with this tweet. This is the same man seeking $300 million from the Ottawa trucker protesters, those who participated. This is the same man who, during the VLAWG Commission, when he was conducting his examinations or cross-examinations, had a sticker on his computer that said, "Tax the rich." This is the same man who wants to shut people up on the one hand, now lamenting the fact that his buddy, pathological liar and purveyor of fake hate crimes, was fined for using a bullhorn at a protest. I don't know if they're idiots. I don't know if they're stupid. I don't really think that they are. I just know that they're hypocrites of the highest order. It's not double standards. It's not hierarchy. It's lawlessness. What they want is the law only to apply when convenient for their ideological purposes, And when that same hand comes down and just nips them, it doesn't even bite them. When that same hand comes down against them, then it's an injustice. Woe is me. How can this happen? It's lawlessness. It's about control. They want to dominate. But what absolutely blows my mind is how utterly stupid they are about it. Whenever I put out a tweet on the interwebs, whenever I put anything out, the first thing that I wonder is someone going to call me a hypocrite for taking this position now? Is this position that I'm currently taking congruent? Is that the word? Consistent with my prior positions. There are a lot of haters out there on the internet. Even though I think I'm pretty often right and morally justified, there are people out there whose sole purpose is to find the hypocrisy and call it out. Much like me, except I like to think that I only do it when it's warranted and justified, because that's the case. But every time I put out a tweet, and I'm going to say something, I'm going to say, is someone going to call me a hypocrite for having applied a different standard to other people at some point in time? That goes through my head. Paul Champ comes out and complains about the fact that his pathological liar of a buddy got fined at a protest for making too much noise, and doesn't appreciate the irony, doesn't understand how people are going to say, you have to be the biggest dick on the planet. How can you possibly complain about that now when you are literally trying to bankrupt people, destroy their lives, shut them up for having done the exact same thing for a different cause? You can't. But he comes out with this tweet, gives everyone a good laugh, and now we can all end 2023 and reign in 2024, knowing that Paul Champ is an absolute idiot. And by the way, Joel Harden is a damn liar who lied about being the victim of a hate crime. That man... It's not only that he shouldn't be in politics anymore, there should be some form of legal repercussions for actually doing that, but lo and behold, it's lawlessness. And speaking of lawlessness, we're heading into 2024, which is going to be the wildest year of our lives. That's my prediction. At the end of 2022, I made the bold prediction that in 2023, we were going to have definitive evidence that January 6th was a setup, inside job, whatever you want to call it, that it was a setup deliberately allowed to happen, made to happen, for reasons which have become absolutely undeniably apparent. 2024 is going to be absolutely wild. The amount of things currently cooking in the kitchen right now, it's tough to keep track of and it's tough to appreciate. You got wars in Russia, Ukraine. You got wars in Gaza, Palestine. You've got what's going on in America. You've got the Biden administration, Hunter Biden, all of that stuff. You got January 6th. You got the courts removing Trump from the ballot or saying they're going to remove Trump from the ballot. You have what looks more and more like a push, a deliberate, proactive push for some form of hot conflict in the United States. You've got an election coming up in 2020. Okay, that guy, the guy skating behind me has a death wish. The ice just froze over last night, pretty much. It was like there was some open water. It was thin enough to smash a rock through yesterday. And not to be too cynical, if that guy goes through, I may find some flotation device, but I'm not dying to save an idiot. All right, we've got the election coming up in 2024. Who's going to be on the ballot? We don't know. You got RFK Jr., who's the wild card on the Democrat side. You got Vivek Ramaswamy, who's the wild card on the GOP side. You've got DeSantis tanking. You've got Nikki Haley being propped up like something of a total fabricated candidate. Nobody really likes her, and yet somehow she's rising in the polls. You've got someone who's been clearly picked by the GOP side of things. It's going to be insanity. As to who's even going to be allowed to be on the ballot, let alone what's going to happen, we've worked ourselves into a world where I don't think either side is going to accept the results of the election, however they go. And I know that I won't accept the results of an election if they take people off the primary ballots or screw with their ability to be on the ballot in the first place. We've gotten into the world where the hypocrites, the people who want to dominate, they will literally take people off the ballot in the name of preserving democracy. They will literally complain when they get fined while attempting to shut other people up. 2024, I'm wishing everyone health and happiness. Ordinarily you say health, wealth, and happiness, but everything flows from health. Have your health, have happiness. I would have liked to have ended feeling good, but you don't always get what you want. Though if you try sometimes, you just might find you get what you need. What do I need? I need a camera, I need the internet, and I need to keep calling out the absolute insanity. There is a great awakening occurring. And as much as there's great peril, there's great optimism, because there is, in fact, a great awakening. And with that, the sun comes out for the last 2 minutes of the day, and I'll take that as a sign. Everybody, health and happiness in 2024. Do not let them provoke you into the response that they are trying to provoke from you. Don't let it happen. And if you hear anybody saying it, they're a fed. I will adopt something of a Jordan Peterson model to this. Be a monster, but be a controlled monster, and don't lash out in ways that are going to be counterproductive to your goals. Violence, unless it's immediate and proximate, very rarely solves anything. They want that reaction from you, and if you know that that's what they want from you, and you give them what they want, Well, I dare say you are just playing into their hands. Make your voices known. Keep the pressure on. Public shamings. That's what we need more of. Public shamings, and the Great Awakening shall continue unabated. Everybody, Happy New Year's and all good things in 2024 with the requisite tumultuousness that we are inevitably going to see. Peace.